changes.
What's up, Wastelanders? Hello and welcome to Tapes from the Wastes, a Fallout fan show bringing you gameplay discussions, lore talk, and all things Fallout. I am one of your hosts, KDB, and today it's an extra special episode, not because it's been a celebration of 5 years of Tapes from the Wastes and an even bigger celebration of 10 years of Fallout 4. The most exciting thing about this episode is that for the first time in I think probably about a year, my co-host and I are recording together instead of separately. I'm looking at his face right now. He is here to celebrate with me. It's Eric, aka Sulior. How the bloody hell are you, mate?
It's been 84 years, and I can still. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm very excited to be sitting down with you today. It's been too long.
It has. We were just saying before we started recording, I have a feeling it was around the TV show. Like, obviously, we've done a ton of episodes since then, but because of the time difference, we usually do separate segments. I know we did some at the TV show, and then we possibly did something after that. But anyway, we had to get together for this. And originally, we were maybe going to do like a 5-year celebration episode, and then this one. But yeah, it's kind of just all worked out that we're going to do a bit of celebration for the 5 years of the podcast. Then, of course, it's 10 years since Fallout 4. But yeah, it's going to be a bumper, exciting, special episode today. And yes, it is great to have you here. But yeah, so as I mentioned, lots to get into. So we're going to waste no time. We'll start with the anniversary of the show. It's been 5 years. Our official, we started on, well, what is now known as Fallout Day, Bombs Drop Day, in 2020. And I remember I was listening to I've talked about this before, I was listening to your shows at the time, Nintenfo and Tamrielic Adventures, and I was like, it'd be really cool to just do a Fallout one of these. And I floated the idea to you, and you were well up for it. And yeah, and the rest is history. So I just thought we could talk for a bit about what it's been like. What's podcasting journey been like for you? How do you feel 5 years later that Tapes from the Wastes, we're still going? And yeah, and still plenty to talk about.
There's always something new, isn't there? It's been great. I was actually, it's funny because I was actually thinking about doing a Fallout podcast at the time also, because I was really starting to get hooked on to 76. Like, I'd been playing 76 before then, but it wasn't until then that I started playing it pretty regularly. And I was like, that'd be great to actually dive into Fallout War. And then you approached me, and I'm like, okay, thank God I don't have to do it on my own. Because I was already doing 2 podcasts regularly on my own. And it's just, since then I've gotten involved in a lot of other things as well. Which is great, but it just being able to sit down and talk about these sort of things, it's nice. I was talking about this on the Fallout Roundtable. It's like we do these podcasts because it gives us a way to talk about this sort of thing in depth, because we all have people in our lives that would much rather not hear about it all the time. So, it's been great.
That is exactly it, and it's the reason why I do a lot of my shows. And like making like friends these days, like as an adult, is more difficult. Everyone's settled as well, so everything, all the most people you see in your real life are generally your work colleagues or something like that. So, or in my case, my wife as well. And I feel like these podcasts are just an opportunity for you to really nerd out and talk about the stuff you love that you don't with people in your daily life, as you said. And it obviously, so it started kind of in peak pandemic time, and that was a time when many of us were at home a lot more as well. So for me, it was just a way for me to talk about something I love, but also, and I think I said this way back when we started the show, like, I love Fallout. I'm a huge Fallout fan, but there's still lots that I didn't know about it. And I was like, how can I just explore the series more, explore the franchise more? And without a doubt, since we started this show, my fandom, my admiration, but also just my understanding and appreciation for what goes into the franchise has just grown like massively, and that is mainly to do with this show and the wider Fallout community and all the other shows I listen to. And yeah, Tapes from the Waste, like you said, you've gone on to do other things as well, and the same for me. I don't think I would have started any of my other shows or felt maybe kind of as free to do the other stuff. And a little while ago we just did 100 episode anniversary thing for First Aid Spray, and I said on that show,
that's awesome.
that's the Resident Evil show I'm a part of, for anybody who's listening, and I said on there that doing that show kind of helped enable me and feel emboldened to do the other stuff, because it gave me experience in podcasting and some YouTube stuff as well that I hadn't really done before. And I am by no means a professional podcaster or a professional YouTuber, but this kind of medium and talking about Fallout is just something that I love doing, because it's something that I don't get to do on a daily basis. And just one of the main reasons we're here today is to talk about Fallout 4. And the whole time I'm playing it, I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this. And I know that you're going to kind of understand where I'm coming from. Whereas if I can't really turn to my wife and talk about it because Fallout's not her thing. So, so the podcast just continues to be, a really awesome chance to talk about something I enjoy, and something that's encouraged me and enabled me to do other things as well, and feel, free to do those other things. So, but yeah, we're still going. I don't know. Is there anything you've thought about? Is there anything you've learned about podcasting? Something that maybe you thought, you weren't so good at before, or anything that we don't do that you'd like to do going forward? And this is not me just asking you to pitch ideas, but, how do you feel about the show? Because I definitely have some ideas in my mind, but moving forward, what do you think Tapes from the Waste is going to be for you and us?
I mean, it's kind of like, it started out as strictly like a lore thing, and then it kind of became a general Fallout podcast, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it did. So it's like any time we get some news from Fallout, it's like, okay, that's great. And, we got something to talk about now. Not just, I do want to go back and do some more like lore centric episodes. It's been a while since we've had one of those. I think the last time we really did them was around the time of the TV show. I started going into all the different vaults and stuff like that. I've definitely learned more about like editing, things like that, which I did that quite a bit on my own with my other shows, but it's something that you never stop learning with, like the technical side of things. Now I need to dive more into like video editing, which I have no experience with. But it's like changes to Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasts, or I'm sorry, Spotify for creators. It's changed again. That's also forced me to learn more as far as like adding some background sound, because you can't just click a button like, oh, here's some music that I want to add here, click. You actually have to do some research, find what you want, and actually incorporate it into your audio file now. So there's always more to learn when it comes to this sort of thing, and that's not a bad thing. Like I'm happy to always be learning and growing when it comes to being a quote unquote professional podcaster.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't do it without you. And like I always say, this show in particular, you have kind of remained this anchor amongst the wider community as well, because it's not something that I engage with, but I don't really play Fallout 76 online and stuff with people, and you do. So I'm super happy that you've been able to do more of that and bring it to the show.
I mean, on all 3 platforms now, so just look me up.
Yeah,
I'm always around.
It's funny you mentioned about how the show started, and like, that was always kind of my intention. It was like, let's focus on the lore, and if you listen back to some of the early episodes, we kind of made them like almost like a radio drama, and I would have continued doing that, and I'm sure we've talked about this before. The reason the show kind of changed style or structure is so those lore episodes, as I said, were made during lockdown. I had a lot more free time. I put a lot of effort into them. We both did, and so there's the research, there's the writing, there's the finding the sound effects, there's the finding the music, and I love doing that stuff, and that's like my background as well. But to produce those episodes, there is no way I would have time to produce them these days. So it transitioned more to a more general discussion with some lore dripped in here and there. And those Vault episodes you mentioned, ironically, like they are, if you look at like our listening stats, like they were some of like the highest listened to episodes around that time. And I have a feeling that people who were discovering the show or were excited about the show were like, this is a really great way to soak up what the hell these Vault things are. And so those episodes did really well. And I think there is definitely, we've sometimes asked for feedback on the show. What would you like more of? And we've had Spotify comments saying, more lore episodes and stuff. And it's like, okay, like we're going to have to do it at some point. Because I can see why people appreciate them. They just take a lot of time to produce, and we'll get there. I promise we will do some more in the future. Whereas I love the game stuff that we do, and I love reacting to the news. And I said how when we did those TV show episodes, again, that was such my wheelhouse that like I really loved talking about the TV show. And what's funny is this year, for season 2, I think they have confirmed that the episodes are going to be week to week. They're not going to drop the show in one go.
Thankfully, I'm very glad about that.
So, I mean, all being well, we should and may do an episode for every single episode of the show. A podcast episode, like talking about each episode. We may not be together for every single one, but last time it was all out at once. It was like, let's just do it in two chunky episodes. So I'm excited to looking forward to that for the future. But yeah, there's we haven't covered the original games. We still haven't covered New Vegas. There's so much lore to cover. And then just considering Fallout 4, there's about 1,000 things that I was thinking about while playing the game that I was like, this could be its own episode. That can be its own episode. That could be its own flipping series. So yeah, there's going to be so much more Fallout to cover, and it just kind of feels bigger than ever. So, the show's not going anywhere. We had some big milestones with listeners this year as well. So we're going to keep going. But by all means, if you're listening, let us know what would you like to hear more of, because we're happy to take feedback and try to give the people what they want. We just love talking about Fallout. So, yeah.
Speaking of New Vegas, though, 2 things. Number 1, happy 15 years with New Vegas. And number 2, I'm actually going to be playing that again here soon with the Fallout feeds.
Awesome.
So the next roundtable is New Vegas. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, whether it's DLC or the main story, because I think the last time we played New Vegas was like 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm excited to dive back in.
Every time I see like a clip of New Vegas or something, I'm just like, I need to play it again. It's just one of those games that's got so much kind of texture and it draws me to it. But yeah, we will talk about that more in future. Let's keep things moving because again, there's lots to cover. In terms of news, there's not a big news section. We did want to touch on Fallout Day, which was a couple of weeks ago at this point. Generally, it kind of ended up being way more of like a celebratory thing than providing us with a bunch of new stuff or big new reveals. And obviously we had anniversary editions and we had a message from Todd Howard himself. But Eric, do you want to just give a bit of a recap? What did we get on Fallout Day? What did you think about it? What were your main takeaways from the announcements that they made or the things that they showed off?
Well, they did talk about Burning Springs, which I'm excited to dive into. I did play some of it for the with the PTS, and it's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It does kind of have a New Vegas feel to it, with that section of Ohio being a desert, which you do kind of find out why that happened. I'm not going to get into any spoiler details. I actually didn't really dive into the story much with that. I just mainly explored. I did kind of get locked into the story at one point because it does that very early on. So I did meet the Rust King and some of his lackeys, and I completely got my ass handed to me by 1 or 2 of the Rad Hogs. And there's Deathclaws just walking around. That was fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That should be out, I think, around the same time as the launch of the TV show. So about another month or so. And then with New Vegas, yeah, a lot of people were wanting a remake, which they never said anything about any new game releases. So I wasn't expecting anything with that. Sorry, guys. But there is going to be an anniversary collection or collector's edition that comes with a Victor statue, some playing cards, some caps, things like that. The pictures that you get with Doc Mitchell when he's analyzing your brain, like, you know, with the two bears high-fiving, or a man with a beard, whatever you want to call that. So that's cool. It's $150, which a lot of people are like, okay, we wanted a remake, and you're basically wanting us to buy the game again with this stuff. If you don't want it, don't get it. You know, I'm personally not going to get it. It's fine, but I will say that I've seen collector statues like that go for a lot more money. So there's that too, and it's not just the statue. But unfortunately, it's just the PC version also. They're not doing that for the console or anything like that. But, you know, more merch is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to get it, don't get it.
Yeah.
And then they also said that we are now going to be getting an anniversary edition for Fallout 4. Actually, let me look up because Jessica Starr actually posted some of the things that are coming with that.
And it's coming to Switch too.
It is coming to Switch too. Sorry, Andrew. Yeah, if you want to play it, you have to get a Switch too. He was like, "Hey, we're getting it on Switch." Ah, shit.
Oh, and Andrew's going to be happy about the other news they announced, though, which we'll get to.
Yeah. He plays on Xbox, so they don't get a lot of the big updates. But yeah, there's some new content coming to Fallout Shelter as well.
They're calling it the biggest update ever. I mean, you know, forget anniversary editions, forget new merch. Fallout Shelter persists. It's still going, and it's coming with more content. I mean, it is quite kind of incredible when I see this. So
yeah, if you want more Shelter talk, also go listen to the episode I did with him. We talk about Fallout Shelter really in depth. But it's getting a season pass. Fallout Shelter is. So whether I think there's a free version and a paid version of it, like a lot of mobile games do. But as far as Fallout 4, we're getting an anniversary edition, kind of like what we got with Skyrim recently, and not too long ago. So this is going to be all of the Creation Club content and then some. But it's not just that. There's going to be some bug fixes, things like that also. Speaking of Andrew, he recently did talk about one of the things they're fixing on the Fallout feed, where when you're in VATS, you can see through walls even if you don't have the Penetrator perk. That's being fixed. They're also fixing a lot of the stability that the next gen upgrade did with the there were a lot of people on PC were having issues with it. That's being fixed. I personally really appreciated the next gen upgrade because it fixed the crashing that I was having with downtown Boston. That made the last playthrough of Fallout 4 that I did with the Fallout feed really difficult. I couldn't finish the main story.
I remember you really getting frustrated with that.
Yeah, well, and it's like I had mods to fix a lot of the resource strain, but it still wasn't enough. Like, I couldn't finish the main story. Like, I'd fly down onto the mass fusion building with the Brotherhood of Steel, and as soon as I would hit the roof, it would crash on me. So that actually fixed that. It's like, hey, I can actually go into this comic book store next to I almost said Good Springs, Good Neighbor. I just, once you get past a certain point on the map, it just would crash every time. That fixed that. So yeah, I'm glad that that's going to be more stable for the PC folks as well. And I'm actually looking forward to the Creation Club content. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to try. It's not just skins for dogs and things like that. I wanted to play that mod that took you to the Capital Wasteland and some of the cool stuff, and we're apparently getting some new mods as well. So there's no price on that yet, but I know that you don't. It's a lot of people are thinking it might be a completely separate download, which I don't think that's the case, because they actually just said something. I want to say it was yesterday, where there's all the different versions of Fallout 4 you can buy just the complete anniversary collection, where it's the game and the anniversary upgrade. You can just get the upgrade itself if you already have the game. Like, you don't have to buy the game again. A lot of people were like, oh, why are you selling us the whole game over again? No, you don't have to buy the entire game again if you already own it. So it'll probably be $10-$20 like what the Skyrim upgrade was. So I'm really looking forward to diving into Fallout 4 again, which I know you just did, so you got more to play now.
Just a couple of quick takeaways from me. One thing, so like these anniversary editions, like for example, the New Vegas one, it's awesome. I'm not going to buy it. I generally don't have that much disposable income to drop on these things anyway. But like my favorite thing in the anniversary bundle is the big box, this PC big box that it's kind of comes in. That it's like, that's so good, man.
Very retro.
Like, I love that stuff. So that's really cool. And in the anniversary edition, I see, some people kind of whinging about it, but it's like you say, you don't have to buy it if you don't want to. There will be, and I think they know this, there's still plenty of people out there who are yet to play Fallout 4. And like I said earlier, the franchise has never felt bigger than ever. We're going to be leading into season 2 of the TV show. It's giving people a package to buy it all in again. I just have no problem with it, really. And if there's a few fixes and updates coming with it, great. So but Fallout Shelter, it's funny to see that getting a big update, which is really good. There's an advent calendar as well, which is quite exciting. A Fallout advent calendar.
Versal was actually he was giving that out as prizes on his stream recently, so that's really cool.
But let us know what you thought about the anniversary updates. Leave us a comment, leave us on Spotify, or come in and interact with us on social media, because we'd love to know what you think. Because as I've said, I know the reaction has kind of been mixed. And going into Fallout Day, you and I spoke just before it, like there was all these rumors, obviously, of remakes and stuff. And I will say, like, we don't necessarily share or embolden links, but the rumors... the rumors that a Fallout 3 one is coming are pretty solid, and I still think that probably will come at some point.
It's still it's gonna happen.
The Oblivion remake obviously just did so incredibly well, no matter what you think of it. They had already decided to do a Fallout 3 one, and I think that's just confirmed that it's going to be on the way, because that was so successful. So it will be on the way at some point. Remakes and remasters are just the flavor of the generation, to be honest. So it'll be here at some point.
He did say at the end that he knows what everybody's asking for, and they know
that we
coming.
know.
He did basically say it is coming, and he can't wait until he can actually talk about it. So that will be exciting. It's just, that's
when it does come.
That's not what the Fallout Day stream is about.
No,
guys.
And I think that's the thing with this stuff, is it always draws in a lot of people to think, maybe expecting something. And as I say, we talked beforehand, and it was like, if that stuff was going to get announced at that show, I think it would have leaked like the day before or something. This stuff always leaks. Like this, you get a surprise every now and again, but the Oblivion stuff leaked the day before it did. The Halo stuff that just came out leaked like a few hours before as well. So it's like, if a Fallout 3 remake was coming, it would have leaked before the show. So it'll be here at some point. I think maybe we just got to be a bit more patient. So, Anyway.
Just appreciate things for what they are, not what you want them to be.
We can apply that to lots of things, I think. So another Fallout Day in the bag. We are going to move on, though, because like we talked about, Anniversary Edition for Fallout 4, it has been 10 years since the release of Fallout 4, and I imagine everyone listening to this knows what Fallout 4 is. I'll give a little primer for it in a minute, but my back aches, my eyesight is degrading, I'm getting older. This is just another reminder of the passage of time. I can't actually believe that it's been 10 years. Before we dive into the game, do you remember the reveal event and that reveal of it? I have a feeling, because if I recall rightly, New Vegas was your first Fallout game, I think.
Yeah.
So when did you, were you kind of caught up in the hype of the Fallout 4 reveal? Were you excited? Do you remember the launch? And when did you first play it? What's your sort of first exposure and experience to Fallout 4?
Honestly, I don't really remember much leading up to Fallout 4. I was still more ingrained into Elder Scrolls at that point. Yeah. So I was still playing a lot of Skyrim. I think I was playing Batman Arkham Origins at that time.
Great game.
Yeah, and I wish that it would be brought to console, like modern consoles. So I honestly don't really remember. Like, I wasn't ingrained into social media nearly as much as I am these days also. So I was kind of, I guess, under a rock. Like, I've since looked at all that stuff now, like the live action trailer, things like that. Yeah. But I don't really remember much leading up to the launch of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even play it until right around, it was like 2019. That was the first time I played Fallout 4. Like, I had it this whole time. I just didn't have a computer that could actually run it. So I kind of, like, I guess kept myself from it in a way. Like, I always, and this is like that with Fallout 76 and things like that. Like, if I can't play something, I don't try to, immerse myself in it, because that just seems masochistic. Kind of like that with Skyrim too, until I actually upgraded my Xbox. Yeah. Like I kept myself from getting hyped about Starfield until I decided to upgrade my Xbox, and then I started letting myself look at stuff, related to it. So yeah, at the time I kind of kept away from it.
It's funny because I'd say my experience is the complete opposite, where because I obviously loved Fallout 3. And I loved Skyrim as well. So I remember the reveal. They did I guess it was at E3, or whether they did their own separate event. I can't quite remember. It must have been E3, because they had like a Bethesda presentation. And at the same time, so they revealed Fallout 4 and Fallout Shelter in the same presentation. It was Todd coming out and, talking about the franchise and showing off the stuff. I watched that and I was so hooked and hyped and ready for Fallout 4 and I've said previously how I love Oblivion and Skyrim, but Fallout, I don't know, there's something about the flavor of the Fallout that it's sort of more my bag. So I was so unbelievably excited, and they demoed the first gameplay, and they talked about the designs, and they showed the Pip-Boy and the accompanying app that you could have on your phone, so you could use the Pip-Boy on your phone, all in this presentation, and then revealed that it was coming out like 3 months later or something like that. This is back in the day when Bethesda didn't talk about release dates until they actually were ready to release a game soon, which is not what they do now. Or maybe they're trying to sort of get back to that way of practice. So I remember being so hyped, and it was around this time I kind of started to, YouTubers and content creators. So this would have been 2015. A couple of years prior, there's always been YouTubers and content creators, but I feel like 2013, 14, 15, like as we arrived post Xbox 360, PS3 gen, content creators really exploded and blew up online. And there was a couple of Fallout creators or gaming creators that loved Fallout that I were following at the time, and I'd watch their reaction videos. I'd never really watched reaction videos in the past, but it's the first time I can really remember of wanting to see what everyone else was thinking about it, like kind of online. Like you say, you weren't really ingrained in social media, and I was kind of similar. I was on social media, but more in terms of the YouTube and seeing the news websites' reaction to it, the gameplay breakdowns and all this. And I was so engrossed and ready. And then obviously launch came. It's a classic, making sure I booked the day off work. I went and bought the game. I also bought the strategy guide at the same time as well, because I was just like, I'm going to need this thing. And what's ironic about this is when I first started playing Fallout 4 is I was kind of using this, but this strategy guide is the way it's kind of laid out. I don't know. It's not really like a follow along as you play. It's more like a reference guide. You can kind of flick open a page and refer to something in it. But, but I picked that up, and obviously it came with the map and stuff like that. And I was one of the people who I had an iPhone at the time. So I used the second screen experience where I didn't have the actual Pip-Boy that it could slot in, but I had an iPhone and an iPad, and I was using it when I was playing. So I was all in. And I'll talk more about my kind of reactions to it at the time, I think maybe in my conclusion. But yeah, I was definitely caught up in the hype. And and I think 10 years later, which we'll talk about more today, I'm maybe more into it than ever before. Not to put the cart before the horse, but that's interesting because that's funny to me that you didn't really come to it till 2019, but
not that I didn't want to. I had the game. I just couldn't play.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. I revisited the game a fair bit since then, but I specifically have replayed it this year. I started in, I think, April. I've staggered it to replay through for this podcast. I know, are basically always playing it anyway, so you didn't really need to do a full playthrough. But today we're gonna talk about our experiences with the game, what we kind of enjoy about it, what we think about the story and the gameplay and stuff, and then give a nice conclusion at the end. And as I mentioned earlier, the more I played this, the more I realized that this episode today, talking about Fallout 4, it was not possible to really cover everything. So, do give us a bit of leeway there. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of stuff that we don't touch on, and this is going to be a bit more broad, but it did kind of give me the kind of lit a fire under me to think this could be a separate episode, and this could be a video or something like that, because playing Fallout 4 has been a very joyous time recently for me. But before we start, for those that don't know, I've got my little primer here. And I'm sure if you listen to this, you must know, what Fallout 4 is. But if for some reason you don't, here's the primer. And by primer, I mean the Wikipedia summary, which I've just copy and pasted into my notes here. So, Fallout 4 is a 2015 role-playing game developed by Bethesda Studios, published by Bethesda Softworks. It is the fourth main game in the Fallout series and was released worldwide on November 10th, 2015. For Microsoft Windows, PS4 and Xbox One. The open world is set within a post-apocalyptic environment that encompasses the American city of Boston and the surrounding Massachusetts region, known in-game as the Commonwealth. The player explores the game's dilapidated world, completes quests, assists factions, and acquires experience points to level up and increase abilities of their character. New features to the series include the ability to develop and manage settlements and an extensive crafting system where materials scavenged from the environment can be used to craft explosives, upgrade to weapons and armor, construct, furnish, and improve the settlements. It is the first game in the series to also feature a fully voiced protagonist. Yes. Fallout 4 actually received positive reviews from critics. Many praised the world depth, player freedom, overall amount of content, crafting, story, characters, and soundtrack. Criticism was mainly directed at the game's simplified role-playing elements compared to its predecessors and technical issues. It shipped 12 million units to retailers, which generated $750 million within the first 24 hours of launch, and I guarantee you it did not cost that much to make. It received numerous accolades from various gaming publications and award events, including the respective awards for Game of the Year, Best Game at DICE Awards, and British Academy Game Awards. Bethesda released 6 downloadable contents and add-ons, including Far Harbor, etc. And a Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition is scheduled to be released on November 10th, 2025, which is in 2 days' time at the time of recording. So let's get into it. Before we talk about gameplay and stuff, the funny thing about that summary is it says how much Fallout 4 was loved and how much money it made. It was praised by critics. Before we dive into it, I mean, what's your perception of what the fandom or what I suppose gamers' perception of Fallout 4 is? Because I know what I think it is, but what do you think? Do you think it's a game that is maybe kind of shunned, or apparently, according to this, everyone loved it?
I think it's kind of mixed as far as today. There are people who absolutely love Fallout 4. It's their Fallout game. And then there are people who are like, okay, this was bad. We never should have had a voice protagonist. There hasn't been a good Fallout game since, da 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 da. New Vegas is the best. Which that's just noise. Just form your own opinion, guys. Again, I personally love it, and there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, is the voice protagonist thing bad? No, it's just different. And I mean, Bethesda since has gone back to having a non-voice protagonist with Starfield. But as far as the overall perception, I'd say it's pretty mixed.
Yeah,
but you could say that about any of the games, really. I mean, there are people who absolutely love any of the games. There are people who don't. But I think for what it is, it's great.
It's just funny to me to read it because it was positively received, and it's like, but there is this weird cloud over Fallout 4, it seems, these days, and I'm going to talk more about that in a bit. But it made a lot of money, it did really well, and it was a hugely successful launch for them at the time. So let's get into it. So let's start with the gameplay. What do you think about how Fallout 4 plays? What do you enjoy about it? Is there anything that you are critical of? And I suppose, the purposes of this is 10 years later, it's a retrospective. How do you think it compares maybe to what's it like to play Fallout 4 today, alongside some of the other games or newer games? Anywhere you want to take it, highlights and lowlights for the gameplay of Fallout 4.
I mean, it's, pretty familiar because, I mean, they basically took everything that was in Fallout 4 and put it into 76. So, whether it's the gun mechanics, the crafting. Well, I mean the crafting has definitely been improved since Fallout 4, but it was their first attempt at building. Another plug, if you wanted, if you want more about all the mechanics with building, I did an episode with Jessica Starr, and we talked a lot about the building in Fallout 4. Where it was the first time we could actually build our own home, or in Fallout 4's case, it was an entire village, really. It was the first time also that they incorporated a legendary system with weapons and armor and enemies. So thankfully, we don't have the enemies like replenishing their health and by mutating in 76 anymore, because that's always a surprise when you're fighting an enemy and suddenly it has full health again when it was nearly dead. As far as like the map, I love the map. I wherever we're at, whether it's Boston or Far Harbor or Nuka World. And, like I said, I don't really mind the voice protagonist. I know a lot of people aren't fans of it, but I think, and that's another funny thing as well. People were asking for that forever. And then they got it, and like, okay, no, I don't want that. So, I don't know. Like, I think overall, it's hard for me to find something to complain about when it comes to Fallout 4.
Yeah.
It's hard not to go back to the older games and not be able to run. And I was used to VATS completely freezing time, but now it's more slow time, which I guess is in a way realistic. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry if you noticed a little cut there. I just wanted to check a little technical issue, but yeah. So let's get into the gameplay a bit more. So, one of the main things for me about this, playing this 10 years later, and Starfield is completely to blame. I mean, I am so classically a VATS player in Fallout 3, and then even in Fallout 4, where, you mentioned there that it doesn't freeze time, it sort of goes slow motion, which I remember way back when playing it for the first time, or seeing that was the case. It was like, oh, that's interesting, and I wonder, am I even going to like that, or is it going to be too difficult? I liked the fact that time froze in VATS before, but it's fair that they wanted to advance that and move on. But so Starfield obviously has, and I love that we can talk about this game with the context of something like Starfield and Bethesda's progression through their games. The gunplay in Starfield is incredible. I think you think this as well. Like, it's probably it is their best without a shadow of a doubt. The first person shooting and the shooting with the pistols and the rifles and everything in Starfield, it's top notch, and it's how I play Starfield. It obviously doesn't have a VATS mode. You have all the extra skills and stuff you could use and the powers, but what that meant was coming back to play Fallout 4 is I barely used VATS on this playthrough at all, and I tell you what, it was just like playing a whole new game. And so I think Ray on the Fallout feed is quite well known for never using VATS, and I remember whenever I'd hear him say,
or companions,
and when I hear him talk about that, I'd be like, really, you never use VATS in Fallout 4? And I'm kind of with him now. Like, I don't
in
need
the earlier games you kind of had to.
Yeah.
Because the aim was so bad without it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think I always saw Fallout 4's shooting as fine, not incredible, so I would use VATS a lot, but I don't know, maybe it just comes with experience. But I found myself, and what I did with this playthrough is I really focused on my character. I was like, and this is not really something I've classically done, and I'm going to talk about the RPG stuff a bit more in a minute, but I just kind of take the game for what it is and play it as a game rather than leaning into the roleplay side of things. But this time with Fallout 4, I was like, right, I'm going to really lean into my pistols. And I think I'd just come off of some Starfield playing where I was leaning into weapon modding and stuff, and I kind of carried that over to some of this Fallout 4 playthrough, and I go really into my pistols. And once you actually upgrade your skills and upgrade the weapons in Fallout 4, the shooting is awesome. At the start, it is kind of terrible and maybe not the best way to kind of attack. And because the tuning of it maybe isn't perfect, it's not the best system to use. But now I kind of see where Ray's coming from. I mean, if you know your way around the system, the shooting in Fallout 4 this time around, I found, and I've played the game many times, this was the first time I kind of almost exclusively just used, was a non-VATS playthrough. I definitely used it a bit here and there. But before, I think coming from Fallout 3, it was almost the only way I would shoot. Like, every encounter was always VATS with Fallout 4. So this time it wasn't. And that was kind of a big revelation for me on this playthrough. And I think generally it functions really well. It has, as we know, the Bethesda jank that we kind of know and love. But I don't know if, like I say, Starfield is kind of it made me approach the gameplay so differently, and I think I might have been a little bit more critical about the gameplay of. I know people critical of the RPG elements. I think maybe the gameplay for me was always been my main thing. Like, it's not as smooth and tuned as some of the other first person, because I generally play it in first person as well. First person games out there, but this time I don't know. I had no problem with that at all, and I just from a shooting mechanics point of view, it really blew me away. So that was a massive highlight for me this time. I mean, the weapon mods and the crafting of for that and things like that is something I'd only really dabbled with before. And like I say, I kind of made a conscious decision to lean more into that this time, which again just enhanced my playthrough when it came to combat. So it was really, really weird, man. Like, playing this without VATS, and it working for me. So I've got to give credit where it's due. Sort of, if you lean into those systems and kind of play to their strengths, they are really, really good. And for a 10-year-old game, playing it 10 years later, no complaints. Like, when it comes to Fallout 4's gameplay, I have complaints really about some of the, I suppose, sequences in the game. Doing the stuff inside Kellogg's mind is horrible because it's just so dull and boring.
I don't mind that, but the Dima's Blue Nightmare section.
Well, this is what I mean. They kind of repeat
Far
it.
Harbor.
That's like the next level of that. And and there was never really any time playing this where the gameplay annoyed me. The funny things like, being able to walk the same pace as the NPCs and stuff like that, which I get as a kind of criticism, but moving around the game, how it functions. I should say as well, so for the first time ever, I played on PC, because I have a PC now.
I was going to ask you about that and ask you how stable it was.
And I mean, way more stable than console. That's the other thing. What happened, though, is the longer I played, the worse the loading times got. And it was like...
your file does get bloated.
Yeah, and that was noticeable to the point where... You remember, like, the 360 days in Skyrim? Like, what... It's just, walking between places in Skyrim. You're like, okay, I'll just get out my phone for 2 minutes now while this loading screen is on. I kind of was approaching that because I don't have the most beastly powerful PC ever, but the longer the game went on, some of the load times did get massively egregious. But in terms of like, I don't know, it did just feel more stable in general. And obviously I'm playing this with a game that has probably been patched a few times and stuff. So I've got all that advantage, but I had such a blast playing this. And, a big part of Fallout 4 is the story and how you interact with the characters, which we'll get to. But, moving around, taking advantage of the perk system and the crafting. I didn't do any settlement crafting. I did like the bare minimum that you're supposed to do, to get things moving and stuff like that. But I played the game as, a high charisma character and, something which I've kind of leaned into more with RPGs in recent times, where it's talking my way out of everything, because it's like, what's unique about RPGs is that stuff. Like, for example, when I played Cyberpunk at the start of the year, I just leaned fully into the hacking stuff, because it's like, okay, that hacking stuff is not in other games, so I may as well take advantage of what the game is trying to sell me here. So with an RPG, it's like, yeah, you can run around and shoot in basically every game going, but with these RPGs,
actually hack people as well.
And with these RPGs, it's a lot of conversational stuff. So having high charisma and high skills into dialogue can help you a lot. And I say this as someone, as like I mentioned, I haven't fully leaned. I generally don't lean into the embodiment of the character side of things. It's more I just kind of approach it from a gameplay point of view. So high charisma character, leaning into my pistols. My character's name is Jess, as always, because that's named after my wife's. And every RPG game I play, I name it after my wife, and which she gets a kick out of. And yeah, I just had an absolute blast. And for context of my playthrough and how I'm talking about it today, is I basically mainlined it for the main quest. A little bit of stuff here and there, because what I found was I was dying a lot. And I was like, this game is really fucking hard. What is going on? And it's because
it can be,
that's not how you're supposed to play it. This is, people gave Shattered Space a lot of shit because they're like, oh, I completed it in like 4 hours. And it's like, yeah, because you mainlined it. It's like, you can play the games however you want, okay? But, and there's a lot to be explored, and you're supposed to be encouraged to explore and do that side stuff. And with Fallout 4, I was, a few hours into the game, I was just getting like one-shotted by everything, and I was like, I can't progress. And it's because I hadn't spent really any time going to do some side quests, get some XP, and actually get some decent armor. So now and again, I would kind of go off and do some of the side stuff, but for the most part, I mainlined, and my end goal was to, I think I said this to you, I wanted to finish up with the Minutemen, because there's a way to make the game where you can still interact with a Railroad and Brotherhood and Minutemen if you kind of do it in a certain way. So I managed to do that and took out the Institute at the end. But yeah, in terms of what the game offers in those new systems, the settlements, it is good. I mean, what do you think about the settlements? Obviously, in Fallout 76, that's taken to the next level. But when it comes to Fallout 4, is that stuff you ever really dabbled with, or did that come later in 76?
Not until the last playthrough I did. Like, I probably built up a couple of houses my first playthrough or two, but the last playthrough I did, it was after I'd really started getting into building. So the last playthrough actually was with the Fallout feed. We did a survival playthrough, which that was an experience as well, because I'd never played on survival before. So I actually had a mod that allowed fast travel between the settlements, and playing on survival especially, like, it is really beneficial to build up your settlements because it'll give you a place to sleep and save. Also, you can build a rad arch so it can take your rads away, because you use rat away or anything, you have a chance of, like, it'll increase your hunger and thirst and stuff like that. So it does give you some practical uses. Also, you've got the trade vendors, whatever, the people that will travel around, and they could find you at your settlements. So yeah, like the last playthrough I did, I built up the Starlight Drive-In especially, and
Great location.
When it came time to come back with Nuka World, after finishing that, they want you to come back and take over some settlements. That actually really helped, because I sent I can't remember which faction of raiders I went with Nuka World, but I sent them to Starlight Drive-In. Like, okay, great, this is everybody's already 100% happy here. We're not going to have you do anything else, because the first time I tried finishing Nuka World, they wanted you to get your the people's happiness up to 100%, and that was a pain in the ass. So since I built up Starlight Drive-In as much as I did, yeah, I pissed off the Minutemen, but I didn't have to do anything else for Nuka World to actually complete. So,
what's funny is that the settlement stuff on that reveal I talked about of when Fallout 4 was revealed, people lost their minds for that. Like, they showed that stuff working, and they showed, because they had built like a Vault Boy out of the square lights and things, and he's like waving and the lights are flashing. People, because you can hear the crowd and stuff in those videos, and they lose their minds and are cheering, and they leaned into the settlement stuff a lot. And again, it's something that there's so much in, the higher ranks you put in, obviously the access to more stuff you get. I've never gone up to like rank, I don't know, whatever it is, 3. I think is it maybe local leader or something that gives you the option to build more stuff. Like, I'm sure there's stuff. Yeah,
it's local leader.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff in Fallout 4 I've never seen that you can build, because I've never gone past like level 1 or 2 in local leader. So there's a lot in there with being able to build the settlements if you want to take advantage of it. And it's funny because it's a lot harder to do that in 76 in terms of resources and what you need to get. Whereas Fallout 4, it's kind of all there, and it's easier to find the resources and stuff. So if you are a camp builder, it's not a terrible system to play with if you're not bothered about playing online. So
I do prefer the system in 76, but 4 is pretty good for what it is. Yeah. And I always make sure that I have a mod that makes the junk weightless, because otherwise I'll be over encumbered within a few minutes.
Yeah.
But it's nice that is there. It's, again, something that people are like, oh, I don't want to camp build. Well, you don't have to build up your settlements if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But the option is there because before we had Fallout 76, a lot of people were posting their settlement builds on YouTube, things like that. But now, with 76, people can go and visit each other's camps in person and things like that. But that is, I think, where a lot of the community first started finding each other, was through these settlement building videos that they were posting on YouTube. So, I will say one issue that I've had with Fallout 4 is, I don't know if you've gotten this, but the longer my playthroughs get, I'll start getting these notifications like, oh, we don't have space to save your game and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
Oh, not yet. I haven't.
Like,
I mean, generally it's okay. I mean, I have a decent amount of space on my PC. I don't have many games installed on my PC, but yeah, like you say, the longer I went, the load times got bigger. So clearly the file size is increasing. And I played this completely mod free and stuff. That's funny, because I was intending to experiment more with the mods, because obviously I have a PC and there's a ton of stuff you can get on there that you can't get on console. But I haven't done that yet, and it's definitely something I want to look into. Yeah. You've obviously played Fallout London and stuff, which I've not even touched yet.
Yeah, which we hadn't mentioned that yet. But no, Fallout 4 is where a lot of us started becoming loot goblins also. Because you just, I might need this for a mod, or, for something at my settlement. But have to have a weightless chunk mod these days for 4 and Skyrim and Starfield these days.
Yeah. But yeah, generally for me, it was really nice to be back. You know, I've got a lot of time in Fallout 4 on console, and this playthrough was definitely more brief because, as I say, I kind of mainlined it. But I think I just really enjoyed that tone of Fallout. It is here. You know, this is nowhere near as dark as Fallout 3, and kind of, you know, sort of Fallout 3 is a bit more. Yeah, it's a bit more. I would say it's a bit edgier and a bit darker, whereas this is vibrant and kind of more fun, and there's a bit more, even more humor in it. And
I'm so sorry. I did not realize. Well, yeah, the school I work at is testing their weather thing. I completely forgot about that.
That's cool, man.
It's like, hey, guess what? There's a snow day.
Yeah, so
you don't have to actually call. Just
gameplay wise, it just felt nice to experience it from that slightly different angle of gameplay, like I mentioned, and I committed to that with playing it without VATS and really, yeah, kind of, it was a new way for me to play the game. So gameplay wise, it didn't feel dated. It felt like even 10 years later, in a weird way, it felt I enjoyed it more than I did when I played it all those years ago. So yeah, I had a great time with the gameplay. Any other gameplay thoughts, highlights? Is there anything particular before we move on to some story?
And it's kind of like you were saying. There's so many different ways to approach these games, which is, to its credit, like the last couple of times, like you wouldn't think that you would approach a game where there's guns and stuff like that as a melee build, but I've got a mod for a katana that has kind of turned me into a melee player these days, not a sneaky sniper or whatever they call it in the Fallout games. It's not a stealth archer. So yeah, just give it a shot and find what works for you, and go nuts.
On that note, one of my first character, way into post-game stuff where I'm just playing and exploring more stuff and experimenting with other bits, I did take like a swerve into melee, and I thought, right, I'm going to lean into the baseball stuff, obviously because of Diamond City and stuff like that, and like the mods that you can get for the baseball bats are the mods that you can get are insane, and you get to the point where you can just smack these people with your baseball bat, and it is utterly ridiculous. And you just don't see that stuff until, it's not possible to see it early until you really lean into it with experience and points and mods. And not to keep talking about Starfield, but again, I mentioned earlier in the year on Starfield Sandwich how I went back to the weapon mods with that, and I ended up with a coachman that just shot explosive rounds and just annihilated everybody. And it's like, you feel it just basically puts you in God mode, and without mods, it's possible to get there with these games. And Fallout 4 has that, and the melee stuff, to be honest, even just the sound effect of the baseball bat is so spot on.
Big leagues, yeah.
It's so good. Okay, cool. So yeah, we've established gameplay good, lots of different ways to approach it, and as mentioned, you could do a whole episode on the perk chart, the perk system, and even just little things like that. I mean, we'll talk about presentation in a bit as well, but how the perk chart is presented is awesome. I loved that from the beginning, and the little animated Vault Boys and stuff. It's just so cool, and it feels. Yeah, it all feels.
Oh my god! Watching somebody play with Idiot Savant, and watching Idiot Savant pop up, like I'd never played with Idiot Savant. I was like, why would I play with a low intelligence build? But one of the playthroughs we did for the Fallout feed, I was watching Jessica Starr play when she was streaming regularly. She was streaming it, and I was like, what is that laugh? Oh, have you never seen Idiot Savant before? No, that's hilarious.
I always lean into I realize I keep saying lean into. It's just on my mind today. I generally don't play without companions. So this time I did. As soon as I was able to get Hancock, I just had Hancock because I've never actually progressed his his sort of dialogue and stuff all the way through. Married him and stuff like that. So I got to the end with Hancock, which was quite fun. But my kind of standard for gameplay is to, it's like Lone Wanderer and being able to up my XP quicker and stuff like that. But that was something that I did less this time, and it was more about companions. And as I said, the crafting, armor mods as well, which is, I don't think in previous playthroughs, I don't think I ever put perk points into the armor stuff, because once I got like power armor and that, I just like, this will do me now. Like I don't need to worry. But if you put those points into it, it just opens up so much more. And, it's there. You can see what you can access. It's just grayed out. But to this day, 10 years later, and I've got days of gameplay time in Fallout 4, there's perks and there's things that you can build and do that I still haven't seen. And that's a testament to these games. You can play them forever if you want, because there's so much in there. Let's move on to some of the story. Now, obviously, it's an RPG. You lead some of the story. You can create some of your own story. But this is going to be more to kind of talk about, what it presents in terms of the main story and the factions. But and again, there's so much in here. We cannot possibly touch on everything today. But for those that don't know, so story primer. The main story takes place in the year 2287, which is 10 years after the events of Fallout 3 and 210 years after the Great War, which resulted in a nuclear holocaust. The player assumes control of a character simply referred to as the sole survivor, who emerges from a long-term cryogenic stasis in Vault 111, an underground nuclear fallout shelter. After witnessing the murder of their spouse and the kidnapping of their son Sean, the sole survivor ventures out into the Commonwealth to search for their missing child. For more context on the timeline, Fallout takes place 9 years before the events of the TV show, which is set in 2296, and 15 years after New Vegas. So 3 for New Vegas and the TV show all kind of take place in this same 20-year period, if you like. But that's the sort of setup for the main quest. And obviously you leave the vault, you go out and you meet different factions, lots of different pathways you can take. But the main quest is your journey to find your son and what that means for you and what choices you want to make along the way. But just firstly, in terms of the main quest, Eric, do you think it's engaging? Do you enjoy it? Do you ever bother with the main quest? What do you think about this main line that Fallout 4 puts you on?
I mean, yeah, of course. I know there's that whole, line in the TV show, which we all laugh at, thou shalt be distracted by bullshit every goddamn time.
Yep.
It's one of those instances where I know a lot of people are like, wait, you have a son? When did that happen? But yeah, I do try and finish the main story. I've actually completed the main story 3 different times now. First time I did Railroad, second time I did Institute, and then third time I did Brotherhood of Steel. And it's I still haven't done a Minutemen one, but one of these days. But I think the story is pretty engaging. Just in seeing what happens around you as the story progresses. Like at one point, the Brotherhood aren't even there until you go and take care of Kellogg. In what you do in the game does affect how people treat you. Like, you side with the Institute. I don't think Preston's going to be very happy about that. So, and then, you start seeing synths around the map.
Indeed.
A lot of these synths don't even realize that they're synths at first, but eventually that does come into play. So I think the story is very engaging, and also what you do also affects whether or not companions stick around or how they look at you.
So, I mean, you've touched on it, the synths. I didn't really talk about it in my primer there, but this is like the main part of Fallout 4. Obviously, you've got your your personal journey where you're going out to find your son and avenge the murder of your spouse or whatever, or whatever. But the synths are this. Everything revolves around this. The Institute are basically, depending on what way you want to align, you can say any faction is the bad guy or whatever. I think the Institute to me always feel like generally the most bad, despite the faults of the others. But this notion of kind of humanity and technology and stuff, it's all over Fallout 4, and
oh my god,
in 2025, AI, robots, they're all going to take over the world sooner rather than later, and it's kind of insane to be playing Fallout 4 in 2025 and this storyline of the Institute and the synths and AI good or AI bad. It's like, wow, okay, this is something that's always been around for a long time, but it just feels more resonant than ever because this is now a big thing we're all kind of facing. And all right, we're in the early days of it and the AI bubble may indeed burst, but I just it was weird to play Fallout 4's story today because it just feels like that's something that all the time on the internet, we're dealing with, and how AI is potentially just going to destroy jobs and stuff, and it's very Judgment Day and Terminator 2, and it's
we're all dealing with Skynet.
Yeah, it's exactly, and it's like Fallout 4. All right, these are themes that have definitely been kind of touched on before in the past with other media, but it's just another case of this feeling more relevant than ever. So I definitely experienced the story in the same way I did with the gameplay, like a fresh perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and fresh things to take away. The dog wants to get involved with the podcast today.
Oh, God. Here, throw it for me. It's like I'm trying to do something.
What was I saying? Something about AI. Yeah, but just I think
this starting to hit close to home.
The synth stuff was so not passive in my previous playthroughs, but yeah, it's just amplified by playing it in today's world. So all the stuff about parenthood and loss and stuff is touching and resonant as well. And I think the Fallout 4 and its criticisms against the RPG stuff, it's like, okay, I get that, but I actually think the story is really strong, and these different settlements all kind of different factions that all kind of represent certain things, and you choosing who you want to align with, this stuff that we're used to doing in these games. But I don't know, I now coming away from Fallout 4, and maybe because it's
please continue.
Yeah. If you've just noticed another cut there, it was just to cut out Eric's
might
showing.
Need to put one of them down for a nap.
Yeah. I can't even remember what I was saying. I was saying
the story is super engaging, and it does kind of hit home.
It does. I know.
With everything going on these
days.
So yeah,
people criticize the RPG stuff, and it's like, okay, fine, but I think I think what's been sacrificed there, it's been sacrificed maybe in favor of more pre-written story depth, because there is a lot here, and I've come away from it thinking, I think this is probably the strongest Fallout story. And to me, I don't really care about the less RPG nature of it. I mean, that's not a slight against anyone that does, but I think what it's trying to say in terms of humanity and robots and parenthood and path you want to take, I think this is the strongest, easily the strongest. It's better than Fallout 3. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah. And
they criticize Elder Scrolls for the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially since Morrowind, like the games have been dumped down. Well, guess what, guys? They're also trying to hit the widest audience possible, and if you have something that is super RPG heavy, like it kind of makes it a lot more niche. So you can't really fault them for I guess if you want to call it dumbing down the RPG elements to it, then so be it. But they're trying to reach the widest audience possible, and the numbers kind of show that they're succeeding. I mean, Skyrim is one of the best-selling games ever, and I think Fallout 4 is one of the top-selling Fallouts out there. I mean, obviously, Shelter is the most, but that's also because it's a free mobile game. But from what I've heard, that the most money has also been spent on Shelter. So you can't really fault them for what they're doing.
Yeah.
It may not be to your taste. Some people really like those RPG heavy elements. It took me a while to get used to the mechanics of Morrowind, but I came to absolutely love it as well.
When we talked about the TV show, I was quite firm in saying I think this is easily the best. The TV show was the best Fallout story out there. I thought the storytelling was incredible. Since replaying Fallout 4, now I have a new appreciation for the story, and I think this might pip it slightly. Obviously, the game is in theory bigger than the TV show, and there's more depth to it than the TV show has, because that's very focused on kind of a very specific storyline. But yeah, I feel this term about dumbing down the game and dumbing down, it's like, I feel like that is coming from those people who are really disappointed about the lack of RPG elements, and it's maybe it's shining it's putting a shadow over what is in fact a incredibly in-depth, well-written story, I think, with plenty to say about humanity and kind of this repeating the same mistakes. All the faction quest lines kind of end in basically this. It can end in a certain way with obliterating somebody else, and it's like, it's like, well, war never changes and all that kind of thing. It literally says it in the final cutscenes, and it's and I think it's way smarter than people have given it credit for. And this can be the result of making it accessible. But also, I just think the writers, when you're kind of put in this position of success, you will want to kind of sit amongst the greats, maybe. And I'm sure they're all genre fans, they're all movie fans, they're all literary fans. And so they're just taking all the stuff they love about story and putting it in their platform of a game, maybe at the sacrifice of some of those gameplay elements that we've kind of touched on. But for me, I do not mind. I think I felt very engrossed this time around, probably more than ever. And I do think the synth stuff was a big part of that. I guess it's all about what mood it hits you in and what time, it kind of hits you. And I'm not, if somebody doesn't like and enjoy the story of Fallout 4, that's fine. I just think, as I've said many times, this is my bag, this kind of sci-fi stuff. The story this time around kind of worked for me more than ever. And, the character, the voiced protagonist, which obviously is a big part of the story, I think despite the fact that I can firmly say that I do prefer Oblivion and Starfield and Fallout 3 with the silent protagonist. I do kind of prefer that. But that being said, I think thankfully the performances of the voice protagonists in this are really, really good. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, especially Courtney Taylor with
100%. And the really emotional moments and stuff. Yeah, this is not some shoddy video game voiceover. They're really good, and you could see why maybe they took it that way and took it that seriously, because they had that kind of performer. And so I was really pleased with it overall. But what about the factions? Just before we move on to other things, do you have any faction highlights? Who do you kind of align with? Who do you dislike? Any thoughts about how they complement the rest of the story and how you interact with them?
Well, one thing that Fallout does especially well is that there's no real white or like good or bad faction. Like, they all have their good points and their bad points. Like, even the Institute, like, they're trying to do what they can to quote unquote fix the wasteland and make it to where it's not a wasteland anymore. Now, how they go about it is pretty messed up, like going and kidnapping people and replacing them with synths and things like that. And a lot of people say that I guess the Minutemen would be the quote unquote good, like the best faction, even though they're pretty small and like they've certainly made mistakes as well. I typically side with the Railroad, mainly because like it's the big question that is looming throughout the game is what makes a quote unquote being, like a person. And yeah, these synths may be robots and a lot of like, but sorry, these synths basically live as people and don't even realize that they are synths for however long. And once they do, like, take Paladin Dance, like he was basically fighting against everything that he truly was, because he didn't know that he was a synth. And the Brotherhood don't really care for mutated or artificial beings. So once he realized what he was, like, that was a huge shock. It's like, okay, who the hell am I? So I think they all have their good points and their bad points, and they're all fun to play. Like I said, I typically go Railroad, but I've had fun with pretty much all of them. I haven't done a full Minutemen playthrough, but that is on my list of things to do.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They all kind of have, they present themselves as the good guy, but they have, they all do bad stuff as well. So my experience with the factions is, I remember the first time I played Fallout 4, I did also align with the Railroad. What I did is I kind of went through and aligned with the Railroad, but then I was like trying to get all the achievements as well. So I had like saves, and I went back to, and I did experience all the endings for all the different alignments, if you like. The Minutemen are incredibly boring, but I think they feel like the closest to a good guy. They do seem to have a problem with leadership and stuff like that, and being able to find a good leader. And so there's something, I don't know, you try to sort of look at them and can you like align certain societal philosophies to them, or political philosophies, and you can and you can't to some of them. The Minutemen are very much about community and cooperation and that sort of more local thing. The Brotherhood is obviously more closer to something in terms of like government control and protection through strength and all that kind of stuff. The Railroad are the freedom fighters, and everybody has the right to live. But then do they go too far with the robot stuff? I mean, maybe. I kind of started to feel like that this time. And then the Institute is like, they want utopia, but they've lost their minds and kind of how they're going about it. And it's sure. So it's really difficult. This playthrough, as I said, I did follow all the way through with the Minutemen, and by the end I did feel like that felt like the right choice. I've never felt like the Brotherhood's the right choice ever. I mean, they're I don't know. I had
xenophobic, or
there's characters in there that I have sympathy for in the Brotherhood, but then I don't know. It's like whenever anything that factions like that, or government stuff, or presidents, or police forces are kind of framed as the I don't know. I just fundamentally can't get on board with it, which is why I was more into people like the Railroad and the Minutemen. And then the Institute, it's like, this is cool, all this science stuff, but it's like, it's also like you say, replacing people and stuff like that. It's just a bit like, So there's a lot to kind of chew on with the factions, and as mentioned, there's more we could talk about, for them on. You could do entire episodes, and maybe we will do entire episodes talking about them. But I think generally, my biggest takeaway is we got a lot of memes from of Preston Garvey from this game. So
Yeah.
But obviously there's more to that. I'm joking, but I explored them less this time. Like I went nowhere near the Brotherhood this time because, as I said, I was kind of mainlining the game, and it wasn't until the latter stages where I wanted to keep the Brotherhood and the Railroad on side. I had to do some quest lines with them because you have to progress them to a certain point. So, but I basically played through the entire game as far as you can without even speaking to Dance. So that was quite fun.
I will say, playing in survival, having the vertibird Uber come pick you up was definitely fun.
Yeah.
Just being able to fly over Boston in the vertibird and using it as a fast travel, that was very helpful.
That is when my PC started to chug on this playthrough, which is quite funny. So on that note, as kind of a segue into presentation, so what do you think about how Fallout 4 looks? Visuals, I suppose, in context of the time, but then also today, do you still think it looks good? Any thoughts on the atmosphere or the sound, just the overall presentation of the game?
Oh yeah, I think it's great. And also going into the DLC, which I know we're not going to talk about in depth, but how different Far Harbor and Nuka World feel from like the main areas. I don't really know, like I've never been to Boston, but I do know quite a few people who live in that area, and they talk about how well it's represented. And I think overall it still definitely holds up. I mean, it's only been 10 years. That feels like yesterday to a lot of us. Maybe not everybody. There's some people like, I was in middle school when this came out. Okay, thank you, junior. But yeah, I think it still very well holds up today, and it'll be even better once the anniversary edition comes out.
Yeah. Starfield notwithstanding, graphical fidelity is not really the point of the Bethesda games, and it's never been their biggest struggle. They look great, but it's more about atmosphere and texture and how it immerses you within that through its presentation. There's the graphics of Fallout 4 and Skyrim were not necessarily as state of the art as to something like, look at the Call of Duty games that were coming out at the time that were pushing for more photorealistic and stuff. But they're different games. That's not the point. And Bethesda have their own engine and stuff. They don't run on Unreal. But as we've talked about many times, they have their charm, and they have their things that work for them in terms of presentation. I do think Starfield, just to keep mentioning it, took things way, way far ahead, and Starfield looks incredible. Character models are a little bit ropey sometimes, but in terms of environments in the world, Starfield is one of the best looking games you will play today, But at the time, I remember when I first fired it up, I do remember feeling slightly underwhelmed, thinking, oh, this doesn't look like that big of a step up from Fallout 3. I was completely wrong. It's a huge step up from Fallout 3.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it wasn't in line with necessarily the graphical fidelity of stuff on the Xbox One at the time. But it doesn't matter, because the more you play it, the more you remember what makes these games great, and it's that handcrafted detail and the environments and the storytelling, the dilapidated buildings. And Fallout 4 has a huge variation, probably more variation than definitely more variation than Fallout 3, because if you think about the cleanness of the Institute and stuff like that, but then you also have the wasteland and stuff and all the different areas you can go, there's a real strong sense that everything is deliberately designed. And that is something that today we are moving further and further away from, because, games are, I'm going to talk about AI again. I mean, the notion of AI and design and procedural generation, which Starfield has a lot of procedural generation. It's procedurally generated world. They still look, visually stunning, but there's a lot of the same stuff. In Fallout 4, there is some repetition. There's way less repetition because I think they're working with their set world and their set map, and everything was handcrafted because they had to. Everything had to be handcrafted at the time. So it feels... That is a big thing that I noticed with this playthrough, that I was playing the game and feeling like, this feels richer in a way that some games that come out today just do not. And it's all about that fresh eyes and those the hindsight being 2020 and seeing how games of 10 years ago can compare to games of today. And this is another thing we talked about first Aid Spray earlier in the year. We did a big chat about next gen and what next gen means, and how we feel like, well, visually and presentation wise, games have kind of looked the same for about 10 years now. And Fallout 4 is maybe kind of the last era of that, of where things, I think a game like The Witcher 3 does look better than Fallout 4, but they're different, and they're different engines, and they offer different things. For me, the richness of Fallout 4 and the handcraft detail is all there. You could definitely give it some kind of technical criticisms, like we've talked about, some of the stuttering of the game, or some of the things not working right, but that's fair if you want to use that as a criticism. But I think for me, it's about the atmosphere and the feeling, and playing it again this time. I just think, as I've also come to in kind of immerse myself more and more in Fallout since just we started this podcast, playing Fallout 76, replaying the older games, watching the TV show in particular as well, playing Fallout 4, presentation wise, again, it's just another huge thumbs up. It's like, all right, some of the textures are a bit muddy and stuff like that, but I think at the time and now, it looks and feels great, atmosphere and presentation wise.
Well, it's one of those things that was brought up, I think, in the episode that I did with Jessica Starr, is that you can, like, you see something on a desk or a table, or you can actually go and pick that up, or even just like move it around. Yeah. Like, you throw a grenade into a room, and the stuff that's on a shelf will be affected by that. A lot of the games, the other types of games out there, you do that, and the stuff will just be frozen in place. Like, you can't push that onto the ground or anything like that. And I think that's one thing that just makes Bethesda games that much more immersive than say a Witcher 3 or Call of Duty.
Yeah, gameplay wise, exactly. Yeah, that's fun. That's a huge fundamental difference. I just think, and this is something that I've come to understand is a huge part of their entire direction when making a game. And I learnt this through a Todd Howard interview that I listened to, where they talked about Starfield. God, I keep talking about Starfield. Starfield's a great game, by the way, just for anyone listening.
Yeah.
And he said how they start every game by thinking about tone, and the tone for Starfield was the feeling of being alone and things like that. And so clearly that's how they make these games, and I think they pulled it off here. There's something I mentioned, how Fallout 4 doesn't feel as dark as Fallout 3, and I don't mean literally dark as in it's darkness. I mean in terms of the feeling and the tone of the game. Fallout 4 definitely feels slightly more vibrant and hopeful, I think, in lots of ways. It is bright. There are more colors. It's not all green like Fallout 3, the sort of green hue. So, and some people don't like that. They think it maybe loses its identity or its flavor. I don't think it does. I think because everything is so handcrafted and the detail is so good, and it's so considered, it just feels, when you're playing it, if you're willing to kind of submit yourself to these worlds, that it's unbelievable, the presentation to it. You think about the different locations. Like, okay, there's the style, this retro future style that we know for Fallout Fallout in general, within just the map of Fallout 4, there's so many different locations, interiors, even there's the key locations, obviously, that you go to, but you can stumble across a weird little place, and even that can be different than everything you've seen for the previous 25 hours in the game. And there's always little hidden secrets away. And, you know, the overall style of something is Fallout that I love. We've talked about that verbatim, but just here in the game and this map that you're playing, I just think there's so much to discover. There's so much to look at. And it really feels like you are in Boston and that kind of flavor of stuff.
Yeah, I'll never forget walking into the Salem Witch Museum the first time.
It's
and
so
I just
good.
happened to stumble across it.
Yeah.
And like you walk in there and you're like, oh, okay, this is cool. You know, I'll probably see some, you know, something related to the witch trials. And then as soon as you walk in there, you know something's going on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. This is good. My hair is starting to stand up on end. Like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
And yeah, like Fallout and Bethesda in general, they reward you so much for just exploring your environment. And you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah. Yeah. The comic book store. Good Neighbor. Like, I mean, Good Neighbor is something, you know, I just talked shit about the mission, obviously, you know, but that's, although that takes place in sort of Good Neighbor. Good Neighbor itself, and every, that sort of noir.
The Fireworks.
That noir style that it's trying to emulate is so good. You can just spend hours in there just soaking it up. And I just had so much more appreciation for that. I've always appreciated it, but I do think, as I mentioned, my re-immersing myself in all this other Fallout stuff these past few years, to come back and play it now with that magnifying glass, if you like, it's so good. And that tone and atmosphere is there. And yes, it's fresh in my mind and it's kind of recency bias, but I think this game has taken a lot of shit in the past decade. And I think so much of it is misplaced because a lot of stuff comes... We get some awesome games that come out these days. We really, really do. I think gaming is sort of some of the best games that you'll ever play. Something about this era that... And I do wonder if Bethesda are going to get almost left behind. Like, you know, I think we've sort of talked about maybe on Starfield Sandwich, like, can their engine and the way they present their games... Can it survive now? And what the hell is Elder Scrolls even gonna look like? You know, how is it gonna... Is that what people want? Because it is so different. But I think if you meet this where it's at and see what they're doing with those tools, you won't find a much better crafted world in this. And it's like, okay, so certain blades of grass aren't blowing in the wind. And it's like, I just don't care about that. Like... It's about the meaning behind... It
doesn't have ray tracing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just think it looks glorious. Obviously, it sounds glorious. Soundtrack stuff we've touched on in the past. But, in terms of criticisms, I really don't like it when the rad storms come, I suppose. But that's not even a presentation thing. That's a gameplay thing. And I know I said on the Fallout 3 podcast that I hate rads, and if you could remove something from Fallout, I'd take that system away, because it is a constant... It's always a thing you have to deal with, and I get why it's there. I get thematically why it's there. I get gameplay, get immersion why it's there. I just hate it. I hate that I always have to be taking a rad away or a rad X to have full health. So... Yeah.
I do like that better than the way they did it in 3 in New Vegas, where you aren't even really sure what your rad level is unless it starts saying rad on your, like, above your bar.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I do like the way it's implemented more in 4 and 76 compared to the older days.
Yeah. But anything else? I mean, soundtrack. So I actually, this playthrough, I think in the early going I had the radio on. After kind of 2 or 3 hours, I never put the radio on again. I just listened to the gameplay soundtrack. I have it up there on vinyl as well, and it's again
awesome.
Just kind of like a new appreciation for it. The soundtrack is so good. It's unlike anything else. You know, a lot of action game soundtracks can kind of blur together. They all kind of pull from the same thing. Yeah. No, this is a really, really strong one, and it's something that I want to do a bigger conversation on in future. But before we kind of move on to conclusions, and like some people listening to this might think we're speeding through this before. I mean, we kind of are, as I've mentioned. You
kind of have to, unless you want a 6 hour
show. I would love to talk for 6 hours. We just don't have that time today. So this definitely isn't going to be the last time we're going to talk about Fallout 4. But anything else for presentation, sound, the way it looks? So any locations that you really like, maybe, before we move on to conclusions?
There's just so many. Like I said, and we've kind of touched on Nuka World and Far Harbor, but those are kind of their own thing. Yeah. There's so much out there. There's the pirate ship with the handy bot. I can't remember what his name is. There's Covenant. There's the Salem Witch Museum. There's so many. The comic book store, like there's actually a comic book store that's right next to Good Neighbor that I couldn't even visit until after the next gen upgrade. But yeah, Huber's Comics, that was great.
So good.
Doing that quest with the Silver Shroud and all that. There's so many. We could keep going on and on about that. But yeah, like I said, Bethesda does reward exploration, so just get out there and find these places. You never know what you're going to find around the next corner. Hey, you may even find a Yao Guai in downtown Boston, like I did.
Okay, let's start to give some conclusions, because we've also got, I should say, we did field some feedback from listeners and people out there about their experiences of Fallout 4, and we're going to get to those at the end today as well, because some of you had a few things to say about Fallout 4. But Eric, on a broad sense, how would you wrap it up? How do you feel about the game as a whole and where it sits for you today? Could you rank it amongst the Fallout games, and what do you think about its place today on for a 10-year anniversary of this game?
I think, it's definitely up there. I don't know if I could actually really say that one Fallout I like more than the others, because they're all great in their own way, and that's another thing that's great about Bethesda games, is that each game is quite a bit different from the previous entry in the franchise. Like, you compare Skyrim to Oblivion, and they're so different, it's hard to compare. I will say that I've got a lot more hours in 76 compared to the rest of them these days.
Yeah, but
that's also because I spend a lot of time hanging out with people in the game.
Your gameplay time in 76 is insane, by the way. I look at it, I think you must have like 60 days or something like that.
Well, that's just on Xbox.
Yeah, that's right.
I play a lot on PlayStation and PC too.
Yeah.
Those year-end wrap-ups for Microsoft, I actually have 2 spots for 76, one for PC and one for Xbox in my top 5 games. But yeah, I think it still holds up today, maybe even better than when it first came out. So I don't think I could really rank it as far as my favorite, but because I love them all.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I said earlier, I think I was so looking forward to covering this game for the 10-year anniversary, and I had like these grand ideas about covering this game and getting what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about. But the more I played it, the more I was just like, I can't cover this game. I can't cover this game on a podcast. It's just like, there's just too much. There's too much. And it is very easy to forget what you had or what you've been given, I think, in the past. And the fact of the matter of things here is that the scope of Fallout 4 is huge, no matter what some people might want to say. And I think, over the years, as I mentioned, the game has took a lot of shit. It's taken a lot of criticism, some of which I think is absolutely valid. We've mentioned it, that the RPGs, the lack of RPG stuff, if that's what you're looking for, maybe it's not going to be here in that game. For me, it's not something I need. I think the fact remains that in 2015, it was offering up some scope that other games hadn't got anywhere near. And it feels like today they're almost 10 a penny. 10 penny, if you like. There's a Fallout pun. Yeah, you know, Western franchises like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and even, you know, okay, so I talked about Witcher 3 on this podcast, which also came out in 2015. You know, that was a big, not wake-up call, that was a big competitor for Bethesda. That was showing you where games were now heading and are they in danger of getting left behind, because The Witcher 3 is incredible, and you know, if you want to talk about scope, it's got it as well. But I just think maybe the criticism that Fallout 4 is receiving is maybe not as warranted as it should be, and I just think that looking back now, not many games, you know, games have surpassed it in certain ways, but for me, in terms of charm and tone and atmosphere, there's not many games that have come near it. And that has all kind of been a bit of a revelation from replaying it now. I've replayed it a lot over the years, not the whole way through. I've kind of, you know, played the DLCs and stuff. And again, just to reiterate, we haven't really talked about the DLCs today. It was originally on our running order, and I just took it out because I was like, look, we're not gonna have enough time to talk about it, and I need to revisit them and replay them. But yeah, the handcrafted nature of it, the way that it's something that feels more and more lost these days with modern games. Fallout 4, it gives me just as much of what I love from games like Oblivion and Skyrim and Starfield. Obviously now Starfield is the big new one, but it's not really possible to cover everything the game has to offer in a single podcast. I just think that 10 years later, it's aged incredibly well. There's some fiddly stuff that kind of annoys me. Like, it really doesn't signpost that latter game stuff about how the factions cross over and maybe who you're going to piss off and or lose and stuff. It has a couple of screens where it says this will make you a permanent enemy of so-and-so, but it's like, I don't know. There's some fiddly stuff later that annoyed me, but I just think playing it again today, it feels like fun. This is probably the most fun Fallout game easily, and I don't think it's ever been as fun as this. It's never leaned into the sort of tongue-in-cheek nature as much as it does here, and despite it not being as dark as Fallout 3, which I think I've always said Fallout 3 is my favorite, I think Fallout 3 still is my favorite, but this is just maybe this revisit has made me realize that Fallout 4 is way stronger than I say this as someone that's always enjoyed it and always really liked it. It's way stronger than I even remember. Yeah, sure. And I think in a time where Fallout is feeling bigger than ever, it's a great access point. It's a great entry point for people. If you want to get into the franchise, Fallout 4 is probably where you should start. And yeah, it's got so much to offer. So yeah, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface of it just in this recent playthrough. So yeah, I've had an absolute whale of a time, and I can't believe it's been 10 years because, yeah, it just feels like a couple of years ago that it came out. But anyway, so yeah, before we finish up today, we have got some fan submissions. We asked on Twitter and BlueSky, what do you guys think of Fallout 4? What are some of your first experiences? And we have a few to go through today. So Eric, do you want to take it away? Some of the submissions we had from listener experiences on Fallout 4.
So, yeah, absolutely. So this first one is from Fox's Vault on Twitter. And they say, I was hyped when I was younger after playing New Vegas a lot and was happy when I got it. But more time went on, I'm starting to like it less as it showed decline in Bethesda's RPG mechanics with their games. 4 choices, a set backstory, and 2 endings. So, yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier as far as the decline in RPG mechanics, and yeah, some people do get upset about that, but I completely understand why they do that, because that just makes it that much more niche as far as who can enjoy the game. So this next one is from Shadow Gear on BlueSky, and they say, even though this entry is flawed in a lot of ways, it's still fun. Nuka World at Theme Park Junkie is one of my favorite maps to explore, And I actually think the twist that happens once you reach the Institute is kind of underrated, even if the main story loses some steam after that. So yeah, we didn't even really touch on that. The reveal once you first get to the Institute, that was definitely a shock. The first time you go there and meet the leader of the Institute.
So when you play, Eric, do you take little robot child Sean home with you, or do you leave him there to die? What do you usually do?
Honestly, I don't. I think I do try to take him with me. Because if you do a railroad run, you can definitely do that and just have him hang out at the railroad.
Yeah.
So, all right, this next one is from Facebook Steve, one of your good friends.
Facebook. So it's not actually Facebook Steve. This is the running joke that everyone thinks it is. No, it's the FB is for an old YouTube channel of his called Fire Button, but everyone does just call him Facebook Steve, so he's kind of adopted it. But yeah, Steve is my first aid spray friend and colleague. Yeah.
I think I've heard you call him Facebook Steve.
Yeah.
That's why I thought that. All right. Well, Steve says he enjoyed it enough to 100% the achievement twice. Yeah. That's impressive. Yeah. I've never once gotten 100% on Fallout 4.
Steve's achievement hunting is insane. He's always top of my list every month, when it shows you who's unlocked the most. So yeah, do not underestimate that. What's funny is Fallout on console for the longest time, I had every single achievement apart from the 100% camp happiness. I just could not get it. And then obviously the DLCs came out and it added a few more. And I think I basically have everything beyond some of the robot stuff, maybe. But anyway, sorry.
The Nuka World stuff takes, I don't even know how long. I know Will from the Fallout Feed community did that the last time we played. And I'm like, I'm not that kind of completionist.
It's intense. Sorry, anyway, I cut you off from what Steve was saying there.
That's fine. Steve says it's not his preferred Fallout, but still fantastic all the same. And I think he said something about he's not. Oh,
he's not happy.
Super keen
he's not happy with the anniversary editions. Yeah.
So, all right, this next one is from my buddy Preston Harden with True Vault Escapades, which I'm actually going to be a cast member on that show here. With this next season, I've got a character I'm going to be playing for True Vault Escapades. So, shout out to Preston Harden and definitely check out True Vault Escapades. But he says this was by far the most hyped he's ever been for a Fallout game in history. Nothing compares to the leaks and all that. Not his top game but it's by far the most fun to play over time. The biggest con is the lack of RPG elements. Again, a lot of people weren't fans of that. So,
it's so funny to me, isn't it? Because again, and I think I've mentioned how, like, even when the first time I played Oblivion, I didn't really understand that it was an RPG game. I just played it as a fantasy action game, which maybe is the wrong way to play. But I mean, it's not necessarily the wrong play. I still got so much out of it. But it is, I've learned over the past 10, 15 years how there are these players who they do not want you to mess with this RPG stuff. And I talked to my conclusion about how I didn't think anybody else was doing what Bethesda has done. Obviously, BioWare were around and doing Mass Effect games, which everybody loved for their RPG nature. And then Andromeda came out a couple of years after Fallout 4 and completely bombed, and everyone hated it.
Which I think that's unfair too. I actually finished Andromeda sometime in the last couple of years. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I have no real kind of concept of why people seem to hate Andromeda, but I don't know if it's the same sort of thing. Did they remove those RPG elements that people loved, or was it just because it ran shit for a bit?
I think the biggest thing, and whether people want to admit this or not, is it's not the same team that you come to know and love over the first 3 games. It's a completely new cast. So, and I think they actually, the gameplay and the story with Andromeda is great, but it's not the same team that you're used to.
Yeah.
So, all right, this next one is from Portalman, who is a part of the Gato pub community with Shreds. Shout out to Shreds, and she's a good friend of mine. If you haven't checked out the flash mob that we did recently, that was a tribute to Rocky Horror, definitely go check that out. I actually played a couple of characters in that video. The criminologist, it's just jump to the left. That guy, I played him along with another person in that video. So shout out to Gato Pub. But Portalman says that he remembers being so hyped for the game before it launched 10 years ago. He was in high school and was very excited to have a Fallout game set in a major city that he grew up in, and was not disappointed. So, and apparently he went with Brotherhood of Steel first. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I've never actually been to Boston, but I actually know a few people who live in that area, and I think Barley from the Gato community is also another one that lives in Boston. So shout out to
that. Must be so awesome, because like it's my entire life. Like obviously I've never had games set where I grew up and lived, because I've never lived anywhere iconic. But that must be the same feeling I got when I played Microsoft Flight Simulator and I could fly over my house. I was like, yeah, that's where I live. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine playing it when you're actually from Boston. Must be awesome. Like, yeah, I'd love to sort of see more about what people who are from Boston think about Fallout. And
now that you've finished Fallout 4 again, are you gonna give London a shot? Or?
Oh yeah. Now, like you say, I haven't like messed with any of the mods, or I haven't really. And it's funny, I got the PC and was like, oh, I can do all this stuff now. And like even like the test server and stuff was 76, and I just haven't gone near any of it. But I absolutely want to check out London for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to do Lazarus's last. So Next up is Captain Meg. They're a part of the Modus Files Discord, which, Modus Files now is, we're about to go into like a spinoff series, but I had such a great time voicing Private Douglas among a few other characters with the Modus Files. But they mentioned that one of the funniest memories they had playing Fallout 4 was they were running around Dunwich Borers with Nick Valentine. And apparently Nick went to investigate a grenade trap, and then I guess accidentally set it off, and he was swearing about it. So apparently they didn't realize that companions could do that. Like just go and randomly investigate like grenade traps and things like that. So that's definitely fun.
Dunwich Borers is one of the places in this most recent playthrough that I kept dying because I needed to... there was something I needed to build in the camp, and I needed to find oil, and then I Googled where's the best place, and apparently Dunwich is like the best place to find oil. There's like 30 things there.
It's insane.
There are so many enemies there. It's ridiculous.
Well, and I didn't do the Dunwich building in Fallout 3 until the last time we did a Fallout 3 playthrough with the Fallout feed. Like that was like going from Point Lookout and then investigating the Dunwich building and finding that obelisk and all those people that were being mind controlled. That was crazy. And yeah, Dunwich Borers, that, oh my God, I think I did that. I stayed away from that when I was playing through on Survival.
It's nuts.
So, all right, this final one that we got is from Lazarus Death on the Modus Files Discord. And I'll kind of paraphrase this as well.
It's a very long one, so we do appreciate you, Lazarus. Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to everybody on the Modus Files, all the Modus Files community members. But Fallout 4 exceeded his expectations in pretty much every way, and couldn't forget the hype that was built up from the E3 announcement. He's definitely a fan of the crafting systems with the settlements, which you touched on a lot with the mods and things like that. He's talking about the USS Constitution. That's the name of the ship that I was talking about. With the Mr. Handybots and all that. And he's very shocked to see like actual like history from the Boston area being incorporated into the game.
That ship is one of the things that, I talk about the things you discover. Like I didn't I did not do anything to do with those robots in that ship until maybe like a couple of years ago, and it's just like it adds this whole new thing again that's in the game.
So funny. Well, and you finally do all this stuff to get the ship going again, and it launches and it flies into the next building, like over, and that was such a success. Let's let's try that again here in the next few years. And then finally he mentions Far Harbor, and he just could not believe how well made that Far Harbor was, and that how captivating the story is.
Apart from the Dima stuff.
Yeah. And just how many more creatures that it incorporated. Like, I don't think it was until Far Harbor that we got gulpers and hermit crabs, things like that. So, but yeah, thank you to everybody who sent in your memories of Fallout 4. We've always wanted this to be a community podcast as well, along with just our takes on it. We wanted to incorporate takes from the community as well, and terminal velocities, which is I did not rip off from the Fallout feed. I didn't know that was a thing when we first started doing them. But that's what they call them, terminal velocities.
Thank you so much to everyone that submitted feedback for this, and it, like Eric says, like we are always trying to encourage this more. And what's, I suppose, frustrating might be the wrong word, but we have a lot of people apparently listen to this show. We hit some big numbers this year and stuff like that, which it's kind of continues to blow me away. And we had like thousands of listeners just in the past few months. And that's not me trying to big ourselves up. We're still a very small Fallout podcast. But what I'm trying to say is there's clearly plenty of you listening to this. So don't be shy. Get in touch. You can leave comments on Spotify and stuff now. And you can get in touch with us on social media, because getting those perspectives of you guys and is a big part of what we've always wanted to do for the show. And it's really cool to end on that one from Lazarus, who says how it's exceeded all of their expectations and stuff, and that for a game that, as we've touched on, maybe has received some criticisms and stuff, but I've come away from this episode loving it more than ever. And talking about their reaction to the E3 presentation, I completely get it, the hype, and it's cool to know that those people are out there. There are people that absolutely love Fallout 4 and think it's great, and you are not wrong. It is a fantastic game, and it's been awesome to kind of check in on that today. So also, we talked about at the start how this is our 5-year anniversary of the show. So just another thank you, as always, to everybody for listening to the show and continuing to listen to us. And do, as I say, please let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of Fallout 4. Let us know what you think of the latest Fallout news and everything, because the show would not be anything without you lovely people as well. Eric, before we wrap up today, do you have any more housekeeping? What else is going on? You've kind of touched on a few things today, but what can people look out for coming up?
I'm always doing something, all right? I've been streaming, try to stream at least once over the weekends, and here pretty soon I'll be streaming Fallout New Vegas, and I actually wanted to start trying to stream from my PC more. So if you may or may not see my face when I've been streaming, depending on where I'm streaming from. Modus Files. I did win a couple of Signal Awards with this last round.
Yeah.
So we actually won Listener's Choice with the Signal Awards. We beat Batman. Maybe not so much from the judges' perspective, but for fan favorite, we won that. So that was great. Thank you to everybody who voted for that. Just other than that, I'm still in a couple of machinimas, and I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be in True Vault Escapades here with this next season. That's going to be fun. And other than that, I'm just kind of out there doing my thing. Like I said, you can find me in Fallout 76. I play pretty frequently, and that's really about it. I've still got some other podcasts, but those are pretty infrequent. So.
yeah, always doing stuff. Like I say, Eric is kind of the anchor to the community for this show, so I do appreciate you staying busy, because I don't get involved with that stuff. I just sit and play Fallout by myself.
I'm always doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, as always, yes, do come and check out all of my other shows as well. Gears of War show, Gears Intel. We put out an episode not too long ago talking about Reloaded and the release of that. First Aid Spray has just finished its Resident Evil 6 coverage as well, which was not enjoyable, but we did it. We got through it. I'm also judging for the Horror Game Awards at the moment as well. I know we're kind of past spooky season, but the awards show itself takes place later this month, which has now become this huge thing with an actual physical ceremony in London as well, which I cannot attend just to, it's been kind of like a last minute thing, but the guys have really built up the award show, and Sai, my colleague from First Aid Spray, is kind of going as well to represent First Aid Spray. So I've been playing lots of spooky games recently to kind of do my due diligence for the voting on that. And then I put out a game review on my own YouTube channel, which I'd like to, I was doing my Gaming Aroma podcast, which I haven't done for a while because of busyness, but I'd like to get back into that more kind of general broad gaming content. So as always, I put links to everything in the description. Eric and I are always doing lots of other stuff focused on other franchises or gaming in general. Do come and follow us on social media. We're both on BlueSky and sort of Twitter infrequently. And the show obviously is on BlueSky and Twitter as well, so come and follow us. The links are in the description. Just type in Tapes from the Wastes into Google and we will come up. So yes, thank you as always for listening. Please do leave us a rating and a review. Like and subscribe if you're listening and watching this on YouTube, because this will be a full video version. I should have said that at the start. I might insert it at the start. But if you really desperately want to see our faces, you can watch us on YouTube. And the next time we come back to Tapes from the Wastes, it might be Fallout Season 2 time. I mean, okay, we could probably squeeze in another episode before then, but yeah, the show is coming back next month, so we'll be covering that, and I'm very, very excited. So that about does it for today. Thank you, as always, everybody, for listening to the show and listening to us talk about Fallout 4. We will be back again as soon as possible. Until next time, stay safe out there, Wanderers.